Good morning. Aloha from tropical Montana, Montana Skywatchers Facebook site. This is Samuel Hofman, also on YouTube. This morning I'm trying something a little bit different. Got a file up here for y'all. And this has been pretty much just from February on 2017. Just recent pictures, and I thought I'd give a lot of folks the heads up just on these pictures alone. We can talk about that and we go into it, and we'll see how long we get with this video and upload speed and everything else, because this is a new situation for me. I've tried a new file and we're reconfiguring my last computer, and now we're on computer number 10, and I've gone through 10 computers in a short period of time because I keep getting hacked and keep getting blown out of the system because they don't want you to know this information. Now, I've been involved with this on a Facebook site, of course, Montana Skywatcher 1 and my Montana Skywatcher 2, for roughly about 7 years, going on into the late 2009. Now, I saw, one day I'm standing out in my yard, and I saw a really extremely close, very large planetary pass. And I looked up in the sky, and I immediately knew, because I've known for about 38 years that, we of course have a binary solar system, and that we also have a number of other planets that are attached with the Planet X system. Now, I learned this years and years and years ago, just like everybody else, when they were back when it was openly talked about that the Planet X system, or Planet X as it's called by many, and especially by most of the newbies, thinking that there was only one planet on the outside of our solar system, and it was causing this unusual aberration in the orbitation of Uranus, etc., etc. There was something out there that just didn't make sense, and so they were seeing that something was pulling at something. Okay, now we're a compound in space. There's a lot more going on than what science teaches you in school today, etc., etc. But let's get started. On this first pic, I'd like to point out with my cursor here, this is a planet. You guys out there in the world who don't often look up, unless you do look up and you say, oh, what a beautiful sunset, etc., etc. Well, here is the open core of a tipped axis planet 1, and then there's another planet behind here. Now, of course, this is recent. This is dated March 2nd. I don't know exactly. I'm pretty sure it's that day it was taken, but most of these pictures are not mine, and I think everybody out there that has been sending them in, I have well over around 6,000 plus members, depending on the sites you call are mine. But because I run around Facebook and do a lot of citing for everybody, because this information is free. We don't charge you for it. We're not asking you to subscribe or anything like this, because I view this information as public domain. This is for you. I'm doing, and we do this a lot. I mean, we work day after day after day to try and stay on top of these things, to understand. Now, only through membership participation and the fact that we've done this every day for the last 7 years have we learned. Now, there's a lot of folks out there that are getting tons and tons of disinformation from off of YouTube and this Nibiru channel and that Nibiru video, and oh my God, I read this about the red-winged Nibiru. Nibiru is not red, it's not winged. His Saturn has a yellow moon that puts off the wings, but we'll go into that at another time. But anyway, I'm going to show you off this file today. This is a planet. This is Atu right here, and Uri behind her. Now, they've recently come over since this February-March transition, 2017, and for those of you who have watched my last video, I've laid out the movement. But mainly I want to talk today just about what we're seeing in the skies, as basic as I can possibly explain it to you guys, because there's a lot of people, even though they're posting good materials, they still don't understand. So, moving on. This next picture, this is what's gone over the top of the East Coast, and you can see it's a flatland picture right here, and we see another illumination here. We'll go into that in just a second. This is the bubbly bottom base cloud of Atu. Now you can see that it's self-illuminating inside, and that's because the sun is shining from atmosphere way, way up in the sky. People think that, no way that this could be this close, but these are our clouds right here. This is the object cluster group coming in off in the distance underneath this massive planet here, and Uri back there. And this is, if you were to blow this picture up, it's much rounder. This is a Momentous cloud group. Now, a lot of you weather watchers out there are going to go, oh, those are just Momentous clouds. They're not anything else. But if you look at these things, they are massive. This thing is probably the size of a city, or even larger. Now, they've been close passing. We've seen lots of evidence on this. We've seen it in the magnetosphere, which was also included in my last video. We've seen it in radar. The snail foot underneath A2 has literally showed up in radar. That is what ripped up the East Coast and went all the way up into Canada. And there are sightings from Texas to Chicago to middle of Canada in the last week, where the skies were actually deep, deep purple in these snowstorms and thunder, snow, and everything else. And what everybody needs to take into account is this is an event. I don't know how much closer they're going to get, if they're going to get worse, but you know, we haven't seen the end of this yet. And that's partially why I'm doing this file today, is because I want to show you just recently some of the very important stuff that's going on. Now, we've talked about in my last video, we talked about facial illumination. This is an illuminated face of Uri. Uri is really, it's gray in the distance, but when it starts getting close to Earth, it turns a light blue, and that has a great deal to do with the moisture in our atmosphere tinting off the hue of the blue, which is why our skies are blue. Now, recently, within the last few years, everybody's seeing this yellow sky and wondering, and I truly believe to this day that it has a lot to do with the fact that there's a standard red sun, which is the larger sister to our dwarf yellow soul. Now, in the last video, I said we've always had two suns, we always will. But the thing is these suns are not always next to each other. And every 3,654 years, static charge or whatever, they're attracted or the systems join. And I believe truly that it's our smaller solar system, and that is even discussed in Genesis in the Bible. Our smaller solar system intermixes with the larger solar system. Then they, having such mass and everything, they pretty much dictate the overall rule. And I think it's our smaller solar system that's being buffered around and messed with. And yet, these planets are stable. They're electric. We live in an electric universe. We would have gone, we'd have run into a paradox a long millions of years ago if it wasn't functional and it didn't restabilize itself. And we spiral through sideways through space. We don't go around on a dinner plate like Einstein showed. Einstein was wrong. Newton was wrong. I've even heard recently some people talking about gravitational pull and stuff, and yet it's such a hugely weak factor. I don't personally believe in gravity, and that was partially what I wrote my paper on. And I have finished Einstein's equation merely by throwing out his first. And the problem with most physics today is that everybody's piggybacking all of these equations trying to balance the unification model. Well, there's no balancing it, because what exists in the subatomic in chemistry also exists in the astroatomic. I don't necessarily believe in astrophysics. I believe more in like astrochemistry and electrical astrochemistry. Anyway, that said, you can see that there are planets in these pictures. You can see that there's dark things, and there's little round things, and there's other little round things. Now, you can also see these trailing clouds. We, for the longest time, have seen that A2 has been having the object cluster group, and this is a group of asteroids that we've been watching for 6 years, and they've gotten bigger and bigger and bigger, and we've watched them electrically discharge off other planets, and we've watched them electrically discharge off Earth. Now, last year, they came overhead and threw, over the top of me here in Montana, and it's one of the coolest storms I've ever seen in my life, and it scared the hell out of me. And I love storms, and I don't get scared, and this really did. It was phenomenal. Anyway, I also need to say that we've been doing this, and I have to repeat it over and over again. We've been doing this so long that we have actual pictures of these planets up close, and numerous members from around the world are sending me daily pictures all the time. Now, other groups out there who are selling stuff and memberships and trying to get money from you, I'd like to ask, have you ever seen them produce anything? Have you ever seen them actually come up with a photograph of a real existent planet? They still don't even believe that these planets are this close. So I'd really like to advise you guys to steer clear of these guys and I don't want to get in fights and arguments with them, but they're creating so much disinformation that it literally, for those of us who know what's going on, it's knocking us out of the ballpark because we get so frustrated trying to correct every Mary Facebook and every Joe Facebook that just came along and starts talking about the winged planet or Nemesis or Hercubus and the winged red Nibiru. And we've watched this so much for so long and cross-referenced this information over a great deal of time. For 2 years, we were trying to debunk this ourselves. Now, I have to give a shout-out to Sharon Arbic and, of course, Jamie Klingler and Daniel No and Enel Perez and, God, there's hundreds of people and Sierra Lord and all of these people that really know what they're doing. And they've actually, and Lana Davis, all these people have seen the planets. Now, they're following, I hate to say following me because we're all friends. We've seen these things. And if you're new to this subject, you really, really need to get on board because we're not guessing. We really know what we're talking about. We've got hundreds of thousands of pictures with them. Unfortunately, I can't purvey them to you in a manner that will, A, keep your attention, B, is believable or understandable. And that's where I'm trying to do this here today. Moving on to the next picture. This, again, is the object cluster group. Now, we've seen hundreds of pictures where there's this little shadow going on, and it's even been planed out in the flat over the top of us as it's just going over the top of us and everything. But what you got to understand is in here, there are little round, and they're not little when they come close to Earth, by the way. There's major objects inside this asteroid cluster group. That which NASA recently announced was the asteroid pack. Now, they're trying to give you little tidbits of this, that, and the other thing so that they don't lose their jobs and they can say, well, we didn't know everything, and they'll get away with this. Okay, this right here is the facial moon of Attu. Now, if you look back here, this is how you see the planets. If you look back here, there's there's a dark blue. This is what the sky is normal. This is not normal. If you go back to any of the movies in the 70s and 80s where on color film, you will never see these dark shadows. And a lot of you folks have only been watching the skies for a few years. So therefore, this is normal to you, but it's not. Attu's back there. You can kind of see some of the stripes. And the moon puts off what we call a horizontal ion drag-off cloud. Now, if you saw this in full picture, you would see a big, huge, this thing coming in at this hard angle. That's coming around Attu. And we've got numerous pictures of that we can provide. My favorite drawing, and I'll just throw this up, is this one here for you. And if you look, I'll finish this here, apologize. If you look, we've got the object cluster group over here. It's coming in at that angle. Now, this was done in 2/12/17. And here sits Attu, and it's purple. It's very purple, and this is, of course, back to where we're getting the purple skies. And here sits its moon encased in clouds. So now there are times it shows up in full illumination, on-site illumination, where the sunshine is shining at this angle, and it's a white planet. And it's really actually bigger or slightly as big as our moon. But anyway, there's the drawing. Here's the reality of it. All right, we're going to move to the next picture. All right, this is what we talked about, where we're seeing an electrical discharge of, here again is the object cluster group coming in at that angle. You can see a circular discharge around some of the other bodies. Now, we've recently cited in the last year that there's another cluster that is what this used to be the lead object, and it's got stripes, and it's a big obsidian ball, and we've got some close-ups of it. Unfortunately, I don't currently have those pictures because I just lost another computer. But anyway, here is the electric discharge to the bottom of Attu and Uri, and it's discharging in the purple lightning. Now, purple lightning never used to happen prior to 10 years ago. The purple lightning is the repulsive force that keeps these planets pushing each other away. And if you notice, it's got all these little bent push atmospheric, no, I'm not going into you thing. And I bet you if we went to the other end of this picture, it would actually be touching down on Earth somewhere to getting a finger into it. We live in an electrical universe. We've been seeing this up close and personal, close passes of Attu and Uri, and then you see why. This is like a month or two old. You see this? This is a cut off. This is Attu, And this is Uri coming in behind, because we've been seeing them come in the morning and head toward us. And this is where it comes down like this, but in actuality it's coming from behind us and down like this, and then streams out like that as the day progresses. But anyway, these are starting to become illuminated as we look to the west at sunrise. Anyway, there's another example. And Atu is a gas giant, and it put off these ice cold, you could call them noctilucent clouds, and those are supposed to only happen in Arctic regions. But if you go and look currently on the radar and stuff, we've got noctilucent clouds in the Gulf of Alaska, and we've got noctilucent clouds off the east coast of North America of the United States. And so these are supposed to only occur in polar regions. Well, guess what, folks? We've got a pole issue where we're tipped. Our North Pole, I believe, is just probably south of Iceland, off the Atlantic seaboard between America and Ireland. Anyway, moving on. I've got so much information because we've watched this for so long, it's hard to get it all in one video. Here again, the massive, large Momentous clouds. This is Atu. This is Uri. These are our normal clouds. Now, and these are cumulus. They're not cumulus nimbus because they would be bubbling. But cumulus clouds go way, way high up in the sky. We're talking 20, 25,000 feet. So if this is the top of our skyline, and then we're supposed to get into our ionosphere, et cetera, above that, well, look what we've got up here. And here you again, you see the dark shadowing and luminescence because it's way up there in space and being shined on from a different light source. And of course, light travels through the atmospheres of these planets and bounces inside because of its gaseous forms or oxygen or whatever atmosphere is around these planets. And it is refracted in a prism, and space light does not show up until it's refracted through a prism. Trying to get it down for everybody so everybody can understand. Moving on. Here again, this is a picture from about a week and a half ago over Canada, and we have these massive Momentous storm coming in. Now, Uri has a base cloud, and I believe this is Uri crossing, and this is a luminescent, because if you look, the shadow on this hay bale here shows the light is over to our left shoulder. And yet you've got an illumination going on there, and James and I have talked about it, and we believe that that's like Isatim illuminating, or Isatim's yellow moon. But it's a hard call because there's so much going on, and it's all packed in there so tight that it's really even hard to believe that this is happening. But yet, time and again, we're seeing luminescence inside these Momentous repeated clouds. And it's not like we're guessing and saying, oh, this is just the bottom of this. We've got numerous hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pictures that show time and again, year after year after year, when they come back in, as they cycle through, as we watch them transit daily and over time turn into what we've been drawing. And I've been drawing pictures of it for 5-6 years. And they prove out over time that these are real, and we're not guessing here. And I'm not trying to fight with the other people on the other channels, but I really wish you guys would get on board, because if you figured out that what you've been pointing out is the tiny minutia, and you're missing all of the major show, you could actually do some real science like you're already claiming credit for. If you're going to claim doing a service to mankind and doing a service to the science, well then, hey, why don't you do it right and actually know what the hell you're talking about? And I apologize, everybody. I don't want to be part of this argument. I don't want to be part of their behavior. I'm not going to lower myself down to, but unfortunately I'm continuously drugged down there when all my members or some new members come into our sites, and then suddenly they're asking questions that are taking hours of discussion amongst other people. We end up with 200 and 300 comment threads where you're seeing this stuff, and people are talking about nemesis, and it's like, oh my God. Now these names, and a lot of people ask, these names came directly from a Pleadian person whom I face-to-face spoke with. And then years later I found a video on it, and they matched. And this is where I said we spent 2.5 years trying to debunk this. And yet when all the planets came in one after another, and they matched the description of the information I had from Off-World, and it matched the description from this video, which was originally banned in the United States back in about 2011, and then we had some friends over in Germany who sent us a copy back. And it's one of the first times that it's actually managed to stick. And we use that. And if you PM me, I'll give you a copy of that movie. Anyway, moving on. Here's another one. This is over Minnesota that same week, about a week and a half ago. This is AT2 incoming, self-illuminate. Look at the massive. I mean, these things are close, and they're causing all the storms, ripping people's houses away, massive floods, serious amounts of space water is forming out of these things. And if you're not up with the science, you really need to do your homework. Come on, folks. If you're going to do this and you want to be part of this subject, you've got to look up some of this stuff for yourself. Go to Google. Go to YouTube. If you got a question, don't think you can't think this stuff up. It's not too technical for you. You can figure this out. It has to do with play on light. It has to do with artistic value. And if you just keep going, you will understand this. Because, dang it, throw out that crap that says if a planet was that close, we'd be dead. We can't do that. Because here they are. I mean, they're repeatedly happening year after year after year in cycles, and we've proven it. And I'm sorry, there isn't anybody out there that I found that has this information. I do. Ask me. Anyway, moving along. Here again, you can see the ion poles of these traveling planets. Now, James and I have discussed this, and we believe that this is the open base core of Nepesity. And it's so dark because it is, the light is back here, it's shining this way, there's a planet here. Whoops, wow, lost myself. I'm sweeping with my hands here as I talk. And we believe this is the lead object of the object cluster group, where the rainbow refraction is always happening because it rainbows through the dust and debris along with all of these objects. Ceru's back here, Nibiru is to this side. Right over here you see stripes. Stripes to AT2, and then when it comes over it tips the other direction. Now this picture I believe is a little bit older, and that's when AT2 was still over there. And Yuri would be back here with her bigger, larger stripes and other objects. Now anyway, this is not a great picture, but I wanted to show the pull of the base cloud of the bottom of Nepesity. These things are sky pillars. You've got to understand that. Here's a picture that James sent to me from a friend of his, and I apologize for not knowing the guy's name, but this was Lake Mead a week and a half ago. Here sits AT2 with the vertical ion drag-off cloud off of AT2's moon. Here sits Big Yuri with the drag-off, and here sits Nepesity, and back here is Ceru. And time and again, they show the same placement, the same color, the same variations. And so, over time, they've proven true. Here, check this out. This is a couple weeks ago, I think about a week and a half, where AT2 is coming from behind us and passing. This is before she goes off and gets smaller into about that big. But here's the side of AT2, right here. Here again, AT2's moon and the funky vertical ion cloud that she puts off sometimes, and the drag-off cloud that goes off into the distance there. Now, we've got a match again. Here's this 3 stripes of object cluster group's lead object because it's going across this direction, across the face of AT2. And when AT2's that large, so are these. Now see, there's one here, one here, one here, one here, and there's even one been sighted recently that's taken off. Now during some of these electrical discharges in close past to Earth, I believe the main larger lead objects have slowed down, and some of the smaller ones have zipped on past because they weren't as participatory in the electrical push or discharge, repel, gather, etc. Moving on. Alright, here, this is one of my favorite pictures. This is it's literally from last year, November, December, etc. Here is Yuri. You see the little tiny atmospheric, ice-cold planetary clouds. This was when she was still, when they were both still on the right-hand side of the moon before the transit. Here, of course, is AT2. You see the effect of the sun causes a cloud, space cloud scenario. Here is the moon of AT2 with this vertical pull-off cloud. Now this shows right here with this light occurrence. I'm trying to look for a better word, but anyway, with this light occurrence, it shows you that it's cutting off on the edge of the planet. Now AT2 has a drop cloud, base cloud, and a lot of times it's to snail foot. But that base cloud doesn't form until it really buffers into our atmosphere, and then it starts this swelling drag. Now, in a lot of pictures around the world in the last 2 weeks or so, where they've seen an ocean of water, waves on top of the upper ionosphere where the wispy clouds are and all of that. Well, what's happening is, and there's even reports that our jet stream is doing this and our jet stream's doing that. Well, there's a lot of upper atmospheric winds that are really high, and everybody's been out there watching how their yard furniture is blowing away on your standard blustery day. Well, I don't remember, I remember March, in like a lion, out like a lamb and all of that. But these storms that are going by, and we're talking 60 and 70 mile an hour winds on average. Now, that's not normal. When I was a kid, we're talking 12, 15, 20 mile an hour winds are really scary. Okay, now we're talking normal 70 mile an hour winds, normal 60 mile an hour winds, normal 50 mile, nope. All right, everything's off. You guys have got to get this. And they say, well, wouldn't we have all these worse, weather, earth conditions? The whole world's flooding. Nobody takes in, they don't tell you about it in America. France, in a storm called Zeus, imagine that it's named that, the gods above, France got flattened like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, and that's because Nepacity is on the other side of the planet doing close passes too. We're rolling in between the big boys here, and the dreaming team isn't getting that, and I wish that, and I'm back, I'm jumping there, only because it's only so frustrating. I've been doing this for 7 years, and I just wish reality would strike home to these people, because I'm not full of shit. Oops, I said that word. Moving on. Yeah, I love this picture. I love this picture. I love this picture. This is Atu. I love this picture. I can't say it enough. All right, here. This is James' capture. This is when Uri started coming in closer to us. This is Uri. This is Nepacity. Atu is right here. You can see the green of Nepacity. And Saru's back there. Nibiru is behind Uri, and you can see that kind of here because Uri is around. And yet there's some, okay, here's a focal flaring where you got the shaft light because of pinching off of the sun, because this is the planet between us and the sun. And this is Uri. It's big, light blue. It's gray most of the time, but when it starts to come into us, it starts to turn this light blue. Phenomenal. And you can even see, that there's a shadow on this part of the thing, and everybody's been looking out and they see these murky, weird, mooky skies, and they say, God, it's funkily illuminated. Well, this is why, because you're actually seeing a milked out, shadowed out area, and it's showing up on the geostationary orbit. I post that all the time. Look at the onsetting Earth shadow. It's dark as almost heck, and it comes on at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock in the morning, noon, 3 o'clock. That's when Uri's been coming in and cutting off all the light from portions of the planet, which is also affecting our weather from cool down. See, there are so many examples this is true and it is happening that I can't understand why you guys don't see this. Take the time, put your phone down, go outside, look out, watch what we're doing, learn the base clouds. Let's get on board, because this is real. Here's a picture from Texas just about a week ago, and everybody was seeing these purple skies. Here we have a planetary discharge. This thing is going, Zorch, I don't want to connect with you, and I'm stopping. And there's a lot of push in that thing. Look at the size of that bolt. If you were up close, it would be very, very wide. Now, people are getting killed all over the world from these strikes. And, they never used to. In France yesterday, 3 people died, 1 lightning strike. That never used to happen. Here is in Montana. This is what we see. This, we watched, for the last week, we watched Uri come over the top of us and head towards you guys off in the East Coast from a southwest projection to the northeast. And the object cluster group, of course, is somewhere behind that. And here, back here, is Atu, because Atu comes in first, goes that direction, and then Uri follows. Now, granted, there's a little bit of a purple illumination here. But, okay, this could even be Nepacity, excuse me. And I make mistakes. This is likely Atu right here with Uri behind it. And this is like Nepacity. And up here in Montana, we get a phenomenal capture. Now, this isn't, of course, clear weather. But the more clear it is, the better. We see stuff that up here at 5,000 feet that you guys don't see at all. And this is, of course, where I first started seeing them in the beginning of this. I know I'm running 29 minutes. And I apologize for making this long, but if you new folks really want to learn this stuff, you just got to get on board. And a lot of it is trust to believe what you're seeing. It's not what you've been taught in schools. And that's why they crushed my paper, because they don't want you to know this stuff is happening. Because if you do, you'd quit your jobs and start buying all kinds of oatmeal and rice and you name it and stocking it up. Because we know that every 3,654 years, there's the breakup of our planet. There's all kinds of crunching and this and weather and washing and that. I mean, all you have to do is go back to approximately 1630 some odd BC and see what the end of the, the beginning of the Bronze Age, the end of the Mycenaean period, and you'll see that all these continents break up, and there's volcanoes that wipe out parts of Greece and all sorts of stuff, but they were all localized because they couldn't compare information like we can today. So let's get on board, compare the information, and know. I mean, let's get on the same page here, because I can't spend all my time telling you guys that we have two suns. I can't say, no, that's not Nemesis. No, it's not a red-winged Nibiru, because that's not the truth, and I'm here to share with you the truth. All right, here is punch clouds. Everybody says, well, this is just a punch cloud. Well, what's punching? What's coming in from above? Well, guess what? You've got Attu, Attu's moon, the object cluster group, and it's always putting off this almost bread-like, weaved bread-like thing. And when you see it, you'll recognize it and understand, because this is the object cluster group going over our heads, damn close. And we're getting meteorites that are coming in even faster. I'm hearing daily reports from Canada where there's asteroids or meteors coming in on a regular basis. Maybe a bunch more. They got locusts here, they got locusts there, they got all kinds of plagues and everything. And for you religious folks who believe that this is the apocalypse, here we go. All right, this is like a month or two old, but I want to show you there's direct representations of the close planets. Isatum has been seen around the sun. Of course, the sun's setting here. Isatum has been seen around the sun, so this is why we're seeing the illumination of the red. And if you look, there's that purple in the background. Attu. Now, this is the bubbly overall sky that Uri creates, because Uri's really huge and really cold, and it literally fills our entire area of sky with these bubbly cold clouds. And of course, here you see our yellow rest of the sun because of two suns. Moving on. All right, this is another one of the pictures of the snail foot of Attu. It comes in like a little snorkel. Here's Attu right there. Purple, bubbly as all heck. Here behind it is incoming Uri. And then there, look, there's a planetary illumination, and the light's coming from somewhere else. This is what's been wiping out literally from Texas to Minnesota to Canada. Went over Boston the other day during these snowstorms. Purple skies. And it's always the same purple. There's so many color purple out there, you'd think they were variant colors. But it shows you it's Planet Attu because it's the matching same purple in Texas, matching same purple in Chicago, matching same purple in Canadian snowstorms. Okay, and I produce those videos for everybody on our site. If you want to know more, come join our site. I'm not asking for a membership fee. Look up on Facebook, Montana Skywatchers 2. That's the open site. Join up. I just about allow everybody in there. Write me a private message if you want to know more or where else to go. I'm here for you. I mean, I'm trying to get this information out so we can all be on the same page and actually do a service for science. Hint, hint. All right, here's another one. This is in northern Minnesota and Canada. Here again, we have Uri. Here again, we have Attu. Here again, we have the discharge of the object cluster group, because there's that angled cloud coming in. We can't argue with this. Here's the snail foot dragging the storm patterns as they pass. There's proof. There's proof. There's proof. I mean, and the object cluster group has multiple, we've seen in like 4 major groups now. It's not just one anymore. There are a bunch of stuff coming in. And we're also seeing Oort cloud of the system. And we're also seeing rings of Uri and rings of Attu. And we believe there's debris in those as well. So anyway, and I mean, check your counter. Boy, is it dusty lately. There's a lot of stuff in the air that shouldn't be. Anyway, moving on. All right, here's another example of facially illuminated skies. Hello, puppy, how are you? When these planets are coming up, this is not taking a picture of the sunrise. This is taking a picture of the west at sunrise or the east at sunset. because this is the illuminated planet. Now, and here is the object cluster group again, and you're seeing that hard angle, and these are lower, and so they're being illuminated in different colors. Another example, here we are, it matches. This is from Montana again, and this is when that process was first happening. You have lead object of the object cluster group, you have Attu, and back here you have Uri. And this is crossing this way, this is crossing this way. You can see it in the skies. You can see Attu's facial moon. You can see the drag-off ion horizontal drag-off cloud. I mean, how many of these pictures that match do you need? How much do you need to get on board? We're not looking at the tiny little teeny dotties up over here. I'm talking over and over, serious, never-ending, always matching planets. This is real. It's happening. Put it in your mind. Set it straight. Use your light skills. Here is the vertical ion drag-off cloud. I mean, over and over again, they match. Here again, this is a picture from about 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. Here sits the white facial moon of Attu before she crossed the sun. So, this stuff is matching. All right, here's another one from James. Here we have Attu. Here's the horizontal ion drag-off cloud. Here is incoming object cluster group. Now, they wrap themselves in clouds, but before you know it, if you've watched enough of these, you'll immediately recognize it. It's just getting to know the space clouds, the fact that there are space clouds. Most of this is not chemtrails. They do a chemtrail or two once in a while to break up the eye so that you don't see these round objects out there. Okay? Trying to break up your eye. Not only that, the chemtrails are serving a dual purpose. With 2 suns out there, we're getting a lot of radiation. Here's a picture from last year, but I wanted to show it to you again with the representation. Now, here is the flaring. Here we have the planet is cutting off the sun. It's creating a flaring through its atmosphere and rounding. You have Attu's moon. You have the object cluster group going this way. This could even be object cluster group, but I doubt it because I'm seeing the purple and the dark, but that's about the size. Now, a lot of times, size, location, and color. If you want to know what stuff is, ask yourself those 3 questions. Where is the size? Where's what been here? What been there over the last recent period? And I every month I try to put out a picture for you to show you what's what, who's who, and where's where. Anyway, I'm getting done here. Here's another example up at the Great Lakes. That huge, huge storm coming in. Well, guess what? You know, when this shows up all over the country, it's not just one little batch of clouds. It is an incoming, passing planet. And here we're facing, I believe we're facing southwest because the path of it has been southwest to northeast. And you're seeing a luminescent because there's not much light here, but there is over in this corner, you're seeing an illumination off the windows and refractive light from the sunshine behind us. Okay? And those guys out there that are doing the other shows, they don't even take into account what they're showing as 2 suns is actually the secondary refraction off a building. I saw that and I just laughed and I thought, oh my God, guys, would you please listen to me? Because you're not doing science. You're doing gossip across the table like a couple of people doing it across the fence post because they've got nothing better to do. Anyway, and I apologize. I can't keep going after this, but it's like, God, you guys, you're causing us so much work. I'm going to try and finish this up. I really am. There we go. Here's another older one. Now, this is from the last time that Attu and Uri were coming in. And these big, huge, momentous, illuminated sky because its sun is not over here. But you see, we don't see any sun. And yet, look at that. It's illuminated inside because it's way, way up there and getting shined upon. Here's another example of the bottom of Uri. You guys got to take into account, these are sky pillars. And see this straight line here? It's because it's cutting off the actual light of the sun. This isn't fake. This is real. You have to see these. Here's another one of Uri. See the miniature little clouds around its atmosphere? Not ours. Our clouds are down here. I hope you guys are all understanding this now, and I've been trying to point it out to you. Here's a facial illumination from a Mexico webcam. The sun is setting, and yet You've got the bottom of this planet. This is Nepacity, because we can tell because of the green, because everything is about blue-green off the bottom of Nepacity. Here's the drag-off cloud between them, between Nepacity and Attu, and you're over this direction. But illuminated planet. And of course, those of you who've seen all of my videos, you'll be able to start understanding this more. So check out Understanding What's in the Sky. I can't even remember my own personal title, but what's Understanding the Sky, Samuel Hofman series, and check out Jamie Klingler's work in What's in the Sky. Yeah, I was mixing them. Not only that, I'm sitting here still staring at my first cup of coffee, and I barely drank any of it today, so I'm not really awake, and we've been working on an awful lot lately trying to get you guys all informed, and it's been taking a considerable amount of time, and James and I talk on the phone every day, sometimes for hours. Thank God I've got, my phone package. Anyway, moving along. If you're seeing this up in the sky, this came from James's yard about 3-4 months ago. Purple, Attu, can't argue with it. There it is. When was the last time you ever saw the sky do that? Can't argue with it. And this is not filtered in any way. This is a straight shot. Here's another one. This is from the Ukraine. And I believe this is from last year before, where Isatum was very, very, very close. And then at that time, Nepacity was behind it. There's your evidence. This is how you see these things, especially when you're lower altitudes. Here's another one. This is Attu coming in, dated 2017. This is when Attu was first coming in, dragging across in front of the sun, which is over to the left. I mean, how can you argue with that? You can't. Rainbow illumination, the object cluster group, all the dust and debris. This is Attu right here, coming that direction. This is the object cluster group coming in, and the debris is rainbow huing because it's breaking up the light and refracting inside the cloud that's really there. And if you look, there's this across the sky. And then Attu's moon, vertical ion pull-off cloud. Base cloud of Attu, which is turning into the snail foot as it buffers into our atmosphere. I mean, over and over again. There's your example. This is from my friend Mark in Ireland. I talked about him occasionally in my videos. You've got Attu coming in with Uri behind her, and this is covering their sky and dumping. And here is the base cloud that is always accompanying the snail foot and the such when it enters close to our atmosphere. And even NASA has talked about our clouds are lowering, but they don't tell you why. This is why. All right, there's another example. This is a close pass of Attu as she's going back out. She's already come in huge, 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 and then sinks back into our view. This is, of course, in Florida. And we're looking at sea level. So they're a hard sea, but they're there. When was the last time you saw a cloud that looked like that? That doesn't happen. Anyway, I'm going to wind it up here. Here's an older picture. This is the sun shining on a passing planet, the atmospheric illumination of light shining through its atmosphere. By the way, this is Attu, approximately 2015, I believe. The planets are coming up behind us. It's causing this magnetic wake aberration. You can see that there's fluxes in the magnetosphere. You can see that this is where the stellar material is going by, and something's coming up behind us, and this is base proof. Anyway, aloha from tropical Montana. I hope you guys have enjoyed the last 43 minutes, and I'm trying to catch you up to speed. If you have questions, now I have to say that I'm not as available as I have been. And if I miss answering your question, it's only because I didn't see it, because a lot of material gets lost, because the other day I had 138 messages in 1 hour. So I apologize if I can't get to everybody. For those of you who ask, we can actually have a discussion on the phone. And I'd still like all of those other researchers out there to give me a call. My phone number is available. Ask Steve. I think he has it, unless he wasn't considerate enough to write it down. Scott and the guys might have a copy of it. But anyway, if you need to get hold of me, I'm also in the Montana phone book. Hey, try Googling it, because I'm in the phone book. Call me. Aloha from tropical Montana, Montana Skywatchers. You guys take care.